The sun beat down on the dusty village of Oakhaven as two brothers, Elias and Silas, stood before the town notary. Each had just received an unexpected inheritance from a distant uncle, 10,000 gold pieces. The two men walked out of the stone building with heavy pouches, but very different hearts. The gilded trunk Elias was a man of caution, or so he thought. Gold is a fickle bird, he told himself. If I let it fly, it will never return. He bought a heavy iron trunk with 3 locks and placed it under his bed. Every evening, he would lock his door, pull out the trunk, and run his fingers through the coins. The first year, he felt powerful. He bought finer silks and more expensive wine, telling himself he had plenty to spare. The second year, a leak sprung in his roof. He dipped into the trunk. Then his carriage broke. He dipped in again. The third year, inflation hit the village. The price of grain doubled. To maintain his lifestyle, Elias reached into the trunk more frequently. Because the money was just sitting there, Elias viewed it as a limitless pool rather than a seed. Without a business to focus his energy, he became idle. Idleness bred expensive habits. One morning, 4 years later, his fingers hit the cold, wooden bottom of the chest. The gold was gone, vanished into thin air, leaving him with nothing but dusty silks and a bitter taste. The fertile field Silas, meanwhile, looked at his gold and saw potential energy. He kept only 500 pieces for his living expenses and took the rest to the edge of town. He didn't just spend the money, he planted it. Investment. He bought a derelict flour mill that had been silent for a decade. Infrastructure. He hired local carpenters to repair the water wheel and bought high-quality grindstones. Operation. He offered the local farmers a fairer rate to grind their grain than the distant city mills. The first year was lean. Silas worked until his hands were calloused and his back ached. But by the second year, the mill was humming. The gain began to trickle in, first as silver, then as gold. By the fourth year, the same year Elias hit the bottom of his trunk, Silas had not only recouped his 10,000 pieces, but had used the profits to buy a second mill in a fleet of delivery wagons. His money was no longer a finite pile. It was a living system that fed his family, employed his neighbors, and grew larger with every turn of the wheel. The lesson learned. Elias ended up working as a clerk at Silas's mill. One evening, as Silas watched the ledgers grow, Elias sighed. I was safe with my money and now it's gone. You were risky with yours and now you are rich. Silas shook his head gently. Money is like water, brother. If it sits still in a pool, it evaporates or turns foul. But if you let it flow through the wheels of industry, it gains the power to move mountains.